All right, big dog. Whenever you're ready.
Do it. Yeah.
Oh, fucking A. This is like an every time thing now. I just need to stop fucking trying shit and hate myself. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Matrix Dialogues. I'm wearing a lapel mic today. I feel weird. I don't know how I feel about it. I'm used to a big ass fucking black thing in my face, you know. No diddy. But this little thing poking me in the neck is a bit different.
Yeah.
We're gonna adjust to that today.
I can't even notice it.
Dude.
Yeah.
I've heard that my whole life. And so we're back again, episode 22, with the boy, Mr. Jeff Cruz. How's it going, big dog?
Good, man.
Great. How you feeling?
I'm great.
You nervous?
A little bit.
You'll be okay.
I'll be good.
I'm just gonna start throwing shit at you, okay?
Please
do.
I told
you, we'll start, and I'll just drag you in slowly. Yeah. In regards to success, people often like to say once you finally start to succeed and win, that it's just luck. That, you just got lucky. How do you respond to that, and what do you think luck really is?
I'd say luck. It plays a role, but it's not the main factor of like success as far as like gaining accomplishments and really hitting the marks of what you're trying to succeed in. I don't give credit to luck.
Yeah.
Ever, really. I think it's more of like, man, it's more of a mental thing. Like making sure you're doing what you can do, and it's just weird how everything falls into place, you know. So yeah, I don't give much credit to luck. I think having a vision, doing the work that's necessary on a day-to-day basis, is the luck. Yeah. You
can't get lucky when you're sitting on the couch.
Exactly.
Right. No luck's happening then.
Yeah.
So I think luck is. Maybe it is part of the equation, but it is only prevalent because, like you said, there is a vision, there is work towards an objective, right? It's like it's really easy to stumble on luck if you're fucking out there doing work.
Yeah.
Right. Like, oh, I was at the right place at the right time. I met this person, but it was all the work I did that got me to this place that then met that person.
Right? And that's not luck, man. Like, I don't think anything's a coincidence ever. Like, oh, I just happened to meet this person at this place at this time. It's not luck, bro. Like, that's God working.
Yeah. What is a year of total focus unlock? If you just relentlessly pursue something for 12 months, intentionally, how much different do you think your life could be?
Honestly, for me, I think it'd be night and day, personally.
I agree.
I've had quite a bit of distractions that I'm aware of that I'm trying to overcome and that I feel hinder me from the success that I am after. Yeah, like I think locking in and doing the work that's necessary can ramp up the trajectory and the speed of getting where you're trying to go, like a lot faster than how long it would take you if you weren't so distracted.
Yeah, I think there's things by Bill Gates. He says a lot of people underestimate what they can do in a day, or they overestimate. Yeah, they overestimate what they can do in a day, and they underestimate what they can do in 10 years. But I think even the ratio to a year is cataclysmic. I think what you can accomplish in a year is life altering. Like you can be in a completely different space, financial bracket, perspective in a year's time. Yeah. Like you show up 365 days, super intentional to something, whatever that is, let alone multiple things. I think the spot you will find yourself in at the end of those 365 days will be nothing like the place that you started in.
Absolutely.
I mean, we see what happens. You get a few good days in a row, and like it's like, whoa, like this month's way different. What happened, right? Like, or so. Let alone you stack. I think again, it's like the compounding theory of a penny's 1, and then it's 2, then it's 4, and then it's 8, then it's 16, and then it's 30, right? Like,
yeah.
But you got to do. I mean, 2, 4. I mean, like that's a byproduct of a week of consistency,
Yeah.
right? To go from I have a penny to like, okay, I got 50 cents,
Yeah.
right? But then it becomes a couple bucks, and then it's a couple
Exactly,
$100,
bro.
and then
Yeah.
it's like, so if you can kind of do that and generate that momentum in your own life, the amount of rate that you will see progression again at first is like, oh yeah, whatever, still doing that thing. Then people see you 6 months later, like, oh, what the fuck's going on, man? Like, I ain't seen you in a while. Like, let's check you out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. What do you think of the most misunderstood elements of success are that people don't talk about?
I'd say the mental game that comes with it, as far as overcoming limited beliefs and obstacles that you've put onto yourself, that have just been programmed into your life growing up, and experiences that have shaped you to how you are now.
What are some of those limited beliefs that you have?
A few of them would be that I'm not ready.
Why do you think that?
That I haven't done enough work to claim something, claim success.
What does enough work look like to you?
Not being distracted. And I feel like over the past few years, I've found myself getting distracted with small things, big things, but obviously those pile up and they can hinder your progression significantly.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I only ask that because that's a very familiar subject for me. On the have I done enough to deserve this yet?
Yeah.
And that's like the inverse of the idea that, oh, I do deserve this, right? But really they're just one end of the spectrum versus the other on the same emotion, right? Like the doubt is just the farthest end of arrogance. Maybe like, oh, I deserve this. I should have it already. Like that's just the opposite end of the same emotion of, oh, I haven't done enough to deserve it. Like the really optimal point to be is somewhere in the middle.
Yeah.
Between I know the work I have done, but I don't deserve. I'm not owed anything.
Right.
Right. And like finding always that balance is a bit tricky. And I think that when we're in that position, I would view it as more to the left of I don't deserve it or have I done enough. There's usually a reason. Like that was an overcorrection to something in our life at one point. Right? Because maybe we were a little entitled and thought we deserved something that at some point we had no position to assume that.
Yeah.
And then like we overcorrected, right? Just like in the gym, when you go from being maybe a guy who doesn't train that seriously, then you're like, I got to train twice a day, every day, no rest days, right? But like, that's really not it either, right? Like, yeah, you work out really hard 4 or 5 days a week, and you take your rest days, like you get your sleep, you eat your food, you'll grow.
Yeah.
But again, like you have to go through that period of like, I'm in the gym twice a day, I'm hitting back twice today, like 4 hours apart, you're probably not going to, like that's going to stifle you, but those things can help you grow later. Like each, I'm saying all to say is there's a value of being in each phase. There's a value to be had in the I'm owed this, and then people would disagree with that, but I do believe there is. And then inversely, there's also the value of once you get to the other side of it, and you're like, I don't know if I'm owed anything. Have I done enough work? Yeah. Is this enough? What does that take to get this? I was foolish before, but it's only because you were foolish before that now you can be on the other side of it with maybe not the most sense of entitlement or deserving mindset.
Absolutely. Can I tie into that?
Yeah, go ahead.
I would say, I think definitely comparing yourself also plays a role in whatever aspect you're trying to like go forth with the success in that area.
I make a huge argument that I think comparison is actually good and how it's used.
I think it could, yes. I think it's how it's used. Yeah. But I think it can also, like, if you don't know how to navigate it, it can be like your worst enemy.
Oh, yeah, it can be detrimental.
For sure.
Anything can. I like to use comparison as a reference point of what I have yet to do. So, like, when I see people who can run, like, 5-minute miles, I'm like, okay. I'm not running fast enough, but, like, that's what's capable. Like, that's the potential that you can reach.
What's possible.
Yeah. And so it's like, then if I'm comparing myself to someone who maybe is more successful than me, I'm like, that is what more work, more commitment, better leverage with time gives you.
Yeah.
So, it's I don't use it as just like, oh, I'm not there yet. Oh, like poor me. It's like, oh, like that's it kind of like heightens the ceiling to me.
Yeah.
Initially I thought it was this, and I'm like, oh shit, like maybe it's here. Oh
Yeah.
shit, there's someone there. And so it's not in this like comparison and a detrimental state. It's this comparison of like 10 push-ups feels like a lot till somebody hits 100 right next to you and you're like, oh fuck. That's away from the 10 I've done because maybe I couldn't do 10 before.
Right.
But like, oh shit, someone else can do 100.
Yeah.
Like, oh, that's how much more I could grow. Do I want to pursue it that far? I don't know. But again, like that's how I like to gauge it.
Yeah.
You know, is in that way.
Absolutely.
In our lives, it's like it's an easy segue here. We compare or we evaluate our life based on a very finite amount of metrics, usually money being one of the key ones there. And what do you think people do wrong or get wrong with that? Tying their value or worth to money. It's easy because it's measurable, right? At any given moment, I'm worth X amount, right? So it's kind of becomes this like, how much are you worth? How much money do you make? How much money do I make? This person makes that much. And then we, then trickle on and or tie on all these other ideas or values to that. So do you think, some of the goods and bads that come along with that?
I think it's a great metric to use that's tangible, that you can see.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think that that's the main thing that should be focused on. Right. I think money can buy you happiness, but it's not happiness. It's understanding what's behind it, the work that's behind making the money, behind scaling the success of what you're doing. It's the process, bro. Like, that's what happiness is.
You know who Arthur Brooks is?
No.
Okay. We have homework then. So Arthur Brooks has broke down the relationship of money to happiness holistically, and there's like really two big groups that it falls onto. Money can buy happiness for people who are in the lowest group, right? Like people who don't have who are worried about if their rent's going to get paid, how they're going to eat, right? To those people, money does directly buy happiness because it removes those stresses.
Right.
But then once you hit like some food, shelter, anything else, after that, money's factor into happiness is much different. That's that level is called baseline. Once you hit the baseline level of your main core objectives, life, limb, like
your needs.
Those the immediate needs have been met. Originally, the argument was based on about 75, 80K, but obviously there's some subjectiveness to like region and location because $75,000 in Mississippi goes a lot further than $75,000 in New York City.
Yeah.
So again, whatever that margin is, that baseline level of happiness to your needs being met, once you hit that, more money actually doesn't make more happiness. And so that was a pretty interesting thing to see, because we often think like, like I tie my value again, and we do it selfishly because in early parts of our life, we are on that lower part of the curve, right? Where we are stressed about how am I going to eat? How am I going to do this? How am I going to be able to take my girl out? How am I so as you find like, I'm growing. Okay. I'm becoming less worried. But then, you hit an area where it's not that anymore. Yeah. And then you have to start reevaluating your life because you're like, oh, maybe it's just not enough yet. So it's like learning when you've crossed the threshold between, okay, my needs are met, but why do I not feel anything? It's realizing that relationship to money now has shifted. Yeah. And you have to also become aware of it. Yeah. That's been a tough one for me. Is now I'm doing pretty well in my career. I'm making a good amount of money. I'm definitely over the threshold of needs being met. Yeah. And then I still was like, oh, I just need more. Yeah. I just need more. And it's a crazy thing. And then there was a Harvard study done that by Michael Norton, and he did it on the high net worth people. And people who are worth between $10 and $100 million. And he asked them all, on a scale of 1 to 10, how happy are you? And they gave whatever number. And he said, well, how much money would it take for you to be a 10? From whatever number they said. They said I was 6. Well, how much money would it take for you to be a 10? And we find out that kind of all people, no matter what financial status level, they always say about 3 to 5 times more than I have. So if that guy was at 10 million, he said 30 to 50 million. That guy who was at 100 million said 300 to 500 million. So it's this idea that, as much as we want to be like, oh yeah, but we all kind of reset back to this 3 or 5 times more than I have, I think will make all my problems go away. And I found that just so ironic that, because I'm guilty too. Like when people are like, oh, what would do it for you? I'm like, yeah, okay, this is how much I make now. Like, yeah, double, triple. Yeah, and it's and I'm like, well, but that sounds kind of arrogant or selfish. And then, but then to see that study, and I was like, actually, that's how even people who have 100 times the amount of money I have, they still think that as well. the thing that I know I've been ranting for a minute here, but the thing that I now will pose to you is, we know for a fact that like things like relationships, quality of relationships, are a bigger predictor for happiness and well-being, especially the older we get. But it's harder to measure. Like you said, it's harder to measure those things. With money, it's like, it's very finite. It's very, you either have money or you don't.
Yeah.
You either have a lot of it or you don't have a lot of it, right? Like it becomes very easy. And we're getting metrics like that with our health. We're starting to. But something like our relationships is a bit harder to measure. How do I know I have good relationships? How do I know they're actually fulfilling me? How do I know that I'm happy?
Yeah.
I think that's the tough one to navigate. I think people in our generation are really trying to really start to ask that question, like, well, what? Like, we were sold, like money equals happiness, right? And because we're all foolish and we think that at some point. But now we're like, okay, but so it doesn't. But then what does then? And how do I measure those things? If I was trying to build out a dashboard for my life and it was like money was green or red, it was in a good spot or a bad spot, relationships, a good or bad spot, health, a good or bad spot. Like, what are the things that feed into that, so that I know, okay, I should, if I'm gaining weight, it's like, I should probably stop eating as many carbs or as much fat. Like, okay, great. Like, that's an easy one. But like, what's that for relationships?
I would say reflecting on every relationship, whether it's platonic, romantic, business, even, and seeing patterns in that and why it wasn't successful, it wasn't a fulfilling relationship for you, and being able to gauge and have like just conscious awareness of it. I think that's your metric. It's taking note of what wasn't working and what was working now, like in your present day relationships. Yeah, that's a tough one, man.
Yeah,
it's a tough one for sure.
I think that's a good. People are like, that's extreme. I think you find the truth in the extremes, because that's when there's like the room for negotiability is low, right? So you have to be very precise with like where you're aiming at with it. So what does an ideal day look like when you're 80? Genuinely, what does that look like? Who are the people you have around you? What's your health at? What's your financial status? What are you able to do? Like, what does that really look like? And it's like, okay, then are you doing things right now that are aligned with what you say that you want that to look like?
Yeah.
Are you today pouring actively into what you want your life to look like in 40 or 50 years? It's like, if not, well, and then maybe that's where you start to initially, like, just get directionally correct. Like, if that answer is no, well, you need to change things.
Yeah.
And then you start to like go down the list and go like, okay, well, I spend all my money now, so maybe I should start saving some money. I don't have really any friends that I trust or I think are viable, so it probably won't be my friend in 5 months, let alone 50 years.
Yeah.
What's a romantic partner? Like, fuck, okay, maybe I have some issues in me that I need to work through, so that I can't have the stability to actually have a romantic partner for a long time.
Yeah.
And so like maybe that's like a starting point, at least.
I think so too. I think personally, over the past few years, I've found myself in situations where the other person was meant to teach me something about myself. I think that's what I've taken from every relationship that I've been in so far.
Yeah.
Is that every relationship is just a mirror of yourself.
Oh yeah, 100%.
It's literally just a mirror.
It's a painful one too.
And it sucks, dude, because it's hard to look in the mirror and like face yourself.
Yeah.
And I think that avoiding it or running from it doesn't serve you, because sooner or later you're gonna have to look in the mirror.
Yeah. You can never outrun the things that are wrong with you, or like the undealt with things that are present. And the idea, partner's definitely a mirror. So if you're like, wow, I hate my partner, like, there you go. I can't stand this bitch. Like, you're probably the problem too.
You must hate yourself.
It's like when women say, or even men, but it's, prolifically women, like, how do I find a good partner? It's like, the real thing is, how do you become a good partner first? Are you the kind of partner you would like to have?
Exactly.
And if that answer isn't yes, then everything else kind of just becomes negligible after that. Because there's so many other things left to address. You know, like, oh, wow, where are all the good men at? It's like, well, are you a good woman? And inversely, like, man, all these women are bitches. It's like, maybe you're a little bitch. Maybe it ain't just all the women. Maybe it's you.
Yeah.
You know, and again, like you said, like, that's tough because it's like, fuck you, it ain't me. It's everybody else. It's like, okay.
I think everyone has work to do, man. Like, everyone has more work than they think.
Yeah.
You know?
I think that's been probably my most painful revelation in therapy is the real me is buried under so much shit that I've experienced in my life. It's like this, like, layered, like, shit. And every time I'm like, oh, I'm almost to me, it's like, no, there's still more shit.
Yeah.
And there's still more shit. And there's still more shit. And every time you think you're, like, getting there, there's just another layer of shit. Like, how the fuck did this even get here?
Yeah.
You know? And, I mean, that's been eye-opening. I don't even have any more on that. That's it. It's just fucking crazy.
No, it's really tough to wrap your head around the idea of, like, knowing that there's a dark night of the soul.
Oh, yeah.
And there's so much work to do in that aspect when it comes to relationships and that, like, even with family, man. Like, there's just a lot of, I think, and it's a generational thing, man, honestly.
100%.
Like, and it just goes from your grandparents to your parents to you. And if you become aware and if you become conscious of that, it's not your fault.
Yeah, but you gotta fix it.
But it's your responsibility. Because if you don't break that cycle, just know that generations in front of you are going to be fucked.
Yeah. I joke, and there's some truth to it, but I say, like, all that shit just ran into me. And I said, it's fucking, that's it. No more. You know, because I don't want to pass those things along to my children. And, yeah, like you said, I mean, it sucks, but, like, it's my responsibility to fix it, because if not, I'll just continue to pass that on.
Exactly.
So, like, I'll do the hard work now. I'll bear the suffering and the misery and the angst and all the not so fun things that no one wants to do. It's like, you know, that shit could have kept going, but I said, you know, like, I think it's gonna stop here.
Yeah.
I don't think, like, I know it will stop with me.
Yeah, you have to.
Like,
make
it ran through however many people before me, and
Yeah.
then it ran into a motherfucker like me, and that was its problem. So, confidently, genuinely, I say that.
Yeah.
I was telling my son the other day, you'll be the first person I've ever shared this out loud with, but minus him. But a little over 11 years ago now, I was sleeping in my car. I think I had a little less than $20 in my bank account. I didn't have a job at that time. Life was nowhere near what it is today. And I remember just thinking, like, I don't know what I'm going to do, but I know I'm going to figure it out. And I know I'm not going to quit till I figure it out. And by no means I'm saying I have it figured out, but I have it holistically more figured out than I did 10 or 11 years ago. I don't know, like, I am no more special than anyone else here. Like, I'm from a dirt poor ass town of like 1,200, 1,500 people in nowhere, Mississippi. I, like, initially kind of dropped out of high school when I found out that my son's mom was pregnant. And then I, like, had 20 different jobs that I got fired from every single one of them because I couldn't take it serious enough to, like, do my fucking job right. Everybody told me I was a loser, that I'd fucked up my life, that I'd never be shit. Like, even at times, now me and my mom have a great relationship. We didn't always, but now we do have a really great one. But she's even been able to admit that, like, she wasn't even so sure that I'd be able to get it together. And I'd be lying if I said that 10 or 11 years ago, I really thought I was going to figure it out either. But I just had some, I don't know why, some hope, some, like, deep belief that, like, maybe I can do more than this. Like, maybe I really can rise to the challenge or the circumstance right now and not let it ruin me. And yeah, man, it's from no friends and getting picked on from being the weird little kid who like wore weird clothes because we were too poor to afford shit and whatnot. To now I got friends that, and so many people that I know are there for me that it's almost disturbing to me. I talked earlier about the like, I don't feel like I deserve that. Like, I don't feel like I deserve that.
Yeah.
I people I know would drop everything for me in a heartbeat, and likewise I would do for them. And from how am I gonna only have $17 in my bank account to, you know, I'm not a fucking millionaire, but man, I'm chilling. I got no worries.
I'm gonna piggyback off of that. Now, I'm in that exact position right now. It's been a lot better past 2 weeks, but 2 to 3 weeks ago, I was in that exact position.
Yeah.
And I was going through like the struggle of like, fuck, dude, I'm 26. What am I gonna do? Like, you need to get your shit together. You're about to be 30 in a little bit. Like, you turn 27 next year. You turn 28 next year. You still don't got it.
Yeah.
What are you doing? So a big thing for me right now is honing in on my faith. That has helped me a lot. It's giving me hope. It's giving me the drive to know that I'm going to be good, regardless of how external things are looking for me, as far as like relationships or like job wise. Yeah, man. I always, whenever I speak to people on a deeper level, I always express this to them. I don't know if everyone feels like this when they're little or when they're growing up, but they feel like they're meant for something great.
Yeah.
But I know, like, I can feel it ever since I was a fucking boy, like 6 or 7. There's something there for me. I don't know what it is or how, but I know it's there. And that's what I'm trying to like shape and figure out.
Yeah. I can relate to that. I always felt like, as I say, it was maybe not even rightfully placed, but like I was just like, man, there's got to be more. Like, there's more to me than this.
Yeah.
And the only way you can find out if that's the truth is by pursuing it. You know, it's like, how do you get strong? You lift a fucking heavy weight.
Yeah.
You know, and to the comment you made a minute ago about being in that position, and I'll give 2 perspectives to it. One, yeah, you're 26, but like 27, you're still so young, man. There's still so much time. As much as you may be like, I've got it figured out, like, there's still so much time. Like, you could fuck it off for 10 more years and still only be like 36.
Yeah.
And if you live a normal lifespan, you're not even halfway there.
Yeah.
Like, so as much as it's like, cool, I have the ability to sit on a different side of it and say like, yeah, there is time. But I also get the urgency of like, there's a value to the urgency. So still accept that for what it is and use it. But there is time. But the value of being put, I think when you're put in a corner, you figure out who you are. You know, and like all the, I wouldn't say jokes, but the references of like, you know, no plan Bs or whatever. Like, I think that's if life puts you in the corner and it's just like, what the fuck are you going to do? Like, that's when you figure out who you are. Not when things are great. It's easy to be happy when life's going good. Things are going your way. You got a little money in your pocket. People are nice to you. Right? Life starts taking a fucking shit on your chest. That's when you find out who you really are.
Absolutely.
And that's also when you find out who the people around you really are. This is right. It's easy to have somebody who's doing well, who's making it. But like when you're fucking sucking, like how are the people in your life show up for you then?
I think the main thing is like, do you have you?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
we often like look externally, friends, like support, or a relationship or family to give that foundation of, yeah, you got this, but are you telling yourself that?
Yeah, that's yeah, you have to. I mean, I've heard it like said a bunch of different ways. But like, no one's gonna save you but yourself. Like, you're the only one who can help you.
Yeah.
You know, and I had a period of my life where I did quite a bender of drugs for some time, trying to avoid dealing with some of life's responsibilities. And that was crazily only about 5 years ago. I was just in such a spot where I felt I couldn't manage life's weight anymore that I thought that was the only option. It was like I just numb myself so I didn't feel anything. And it works to an extent, but it doesn't fix all the things that are wrong. Like I said earlier, like, yeah, a common phrase I've said is, you can never outrun your problems because the moment you get tired, they don't.
You're going to be right there.
Yeah. So just when you're all huffing and puffing, they're like, hey, motherfucker, what's up? Right on your fucking neck. You know, like they don't get tired like that.
Yeah.
But if you're willing to face it and you turn around and face it, you realize that the problems are just as scared as you are. The problems are just as scared of you as you are of them. Because all they've done is just chase you around your whole life. You turn the fuck around, ooh, shit. It's a whole different ball game. It's like a really bad game of tag. They're just used to chasing you, right? Yeah. So you turn around and you're really, even if you don't know what you're doing, like you turn around and you're willing to just try to face it, that's where it starts. And from there, with you taking that control of, I'm not going to run from this anymore. I'm actually going to do something differently now. Like that's when change starts to happen. And it happens rapidly. But yeah, you realize like that's when you do have the most control, is when you start to assume control of your own life. And I mean, it's like, it makes sense. Like,
yeah.
I don't know. It feels so simple. And I get that it's not always that easy. Like there's a million other things that are weighing on you. And if you're a person who's in a spot where you feel like you can't do anything right, just know that you can. And the monster or the demons that you've marked up to be so big are so much bigger in your mind than they actually are in real life. Like no problem is actually that big. It may feel like it, but it's not. Yeah. And it's so much more defeatable than maybe you would give yourself credit for, or think that it is, and let alone give yourself credit that you think you could actually do it.
Right. I think last thing, the only way out is through.
Yeah, that is it.
That's it.
Goodness, I love that. Is that from Jordan Peterson?
I don't know who said that.
Okay, well, Jordan Peterson has notoriously said it.
But yeah, man, ever since I heard that, that's resonated deep for me.
Yeah, the only way out is through. Yeah, he said, someone said, like, someone asked him in one of his live seminars one time, how do I like manage the pain or my problems in life? And he said, you take the toxin and you gargle it until it's no longer toxic to you. And like that, because the only way out is through it. Exactly. I butchered half of that, but the idea was like, the only way to get through the problems is to face them. Yeah. And once you get to the other side of them, there is a value, an innate value that is present that initially you may not see, but I promise it's there. And then as you do start to accumulate some wins and some success later or down the road, you realize that you're using the skills and the techniques that you used initially to take that initial first step, that first win, and now you've just compounded upon it. Like but that foundational skill is from there. Mm-hmm. Like this is not something you're like, I don't know where I got this from. Like maybe initially you don't, but like it's like the ironic tragedy that life has to be lived in forward, but only makes sense in reverse. And so to your other comment of like, I got to figure it out. I got to do whatever. It's like, you don't know what's next. You don't know what the thing after the thing is going to be. Mm-hmm. Right. So like right now you're like, this thing's so shitty. This is the worst thing they're having to me. Maybe. Because you don't know what's next. And then after that, and then after that. And then it's like, but if it didn't happen there, it wouldn't have made you do X, Y to get to Z. Yeah. And so in the moment, it's really easy to just get hyper-focused on this is a really awful thing for me. And maybe it is. But you don't know what's coming after it. Back to wow, that was just like raw. No questions were asked there. So have you heard are you privy to this concept of like a life razor? Are you familiar with this idea?
Can you elaborate more?
Sure. Yeah. So it's basically like one singular thing, like a razor. You cut it. Mm-hmm. It's a simple rule in your life that helps guide like your daily decision making. So I can give you some examples. The guy who I want to fuck this up. I have it in my notes. Okay, so like Mark Randolph, he's the CEO of Netflix. He talks about this concept. And his was every Tuesday at 5 p.m., I'm going to take my wife on a date. That was his life razor. the CEO of one of the biggest technology companies in the world. Every Friday at 5 p.m., I'm leaving here. I'm going to take my wife on, or on Tuesday at 5 p.m., I'm leaving. I'm going to take my wife on a date. Not because it was really about any specific date or it was just that's the kind of person I want to be. It's the idea attached to it. I'm the kind of person who will make time for the relationship. And so that was like his life razor, as he said that, like, that's what I'm going to do. Because it's what it meant or what it stood for. And the razors in life change, obviously, subjectively, based on the season you're in. It's like if you're prepping for a show, like the razor's like, I'm not eating out, right? Or I'm not doing anything that doesn't directly add to that value of stepping on stage, right? So do you currently have like a razor in your life, something that like a singular focus that you're living your life by right now?
I would say the main thing that I would consider a razor for me right now, that I touched on earlier, was having that connection with God and being able to talk to Him.
So what are some actions that directly feed to that?
Praying every night, or praying every morning, praying every day at least. Some days I forget, but I try to make sure I stay on it consistently, because it's a conversation with someone that knows everything that's going to be happening for you, that's happened to you, and man, it just relieves you of a lot of pressure, I would say.
I agree.
Yeah.
I should have led with this, but the main razor idea that's been floating around is called Occam's razor. It's the simplest answer is the right answer. Like that's the most noted one, but other people have then kind of not manipulated, but like taking it and making it their own and said like, this is my life razor. This is what I live by. Because it's crazy how if you get super singularly focused to an objective or like a one-dimensional thing, I think in bodybuilding is a very easy avenue to see it. It's like, if it's not me winning and stepping on stage to win, I'm not doing it, right? So if that means I'm not going out, if that means I'm not eating certain foods, like we see that holistic, like this one-dimensional focus and like the outcomes. So we see how crazy people can like transform their body to look into. And then like we said earlier today in the conversation, like what does a year of focus really do? If you have a really like super tight, singular focus on something, like how far you can make it in a year is like mind-blowing. If you're like, I live in my car and I don't want to fucking live in my car anymore, and everything is by that. If it doesn't get me out of this, it's not happening. If it doesn't go against that, I'm not doing it. Yeah. And that's what you live like in a year, man. You find yourself in a pretty nice spot.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right, and so it's like the power of being able to hyper focus on something, and being able to adjust that razor as like life. Because maybe you're not gonna be a bodybuilder forever. Yeah. Right, so there's got to be something else.
Exactly.
And knowing like when to kind of navigate those changes and those adjustments. There's a lot of kind of nuance around like hard work. Like, oh, hard work's lame. Good work smart. Well, good work smart. What do you think of working hard versus working smart?
That's something I'm trying to navigate, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I think it just depends on how you're looking at it. But if you're taking the initiative to go after and do the things that you know you need to be doing, like I think those are tied together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got a mind-blowing perspective for you on it already. So there's a phrase I call doing the reps. And in life, you have to do the reps for things. I don't think you can work smart until you've worked hard. Because how do you know what to work smart on? If you haven't done enough reps to know what not to do, you don't even know where your leverage is. So how can you be working smart and efficiently if you haven't already worked hard? So at the beginning, what you have is time. That's all you have to offer to anything. Like when you first start going to the gym, you know what the fuck you're doing. You just got time, and there's a lot of gym equipment. Get to fucking work.
Yeah.
Right? And then I have this like very maniacal and bullish on the way we learn. And the way we learn is like every time to look what learning is at its core. Let me because I get hot about it. It's a fucking tough one for me. It's like, that requires everything to be wrong every single time until it's right. It's like, why don't people want to learn new things? Why don't people want to get a new perspective? Because that requires you to be wrong every fucking time to get one right. And that's just on, because growth is like levels of growth and learning and perspective. So it's like, you're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong, you're wong, you're wrong. Okay, you're right. And now you're wrong again.
Yeah.
And again and again and again and again. It's like, no one wants to do that. Of course not. It's fucking miserable. I'm not advocating for like, you're a little bitch, why don't you want to do it? Like, I get it. It's not fun. But like, that's the definition of it.
Yeah.
And people don't want to hear that, but like, that's the truth. And so back to the working hard versus working smart is, you know, when versus like, so now I'm in a spot where I can demand a very nice 6-figure salary for the skills I have because I've gotten skills. I worked very hard to get good at some things that I knew leveragingly people weren't doing a lot of. So there was a pool of it wasn't a lot. So I was a unique skill set that was very in demand. I was sleeping in my car, big dog, I was making fucking minimum wage because all I had was time. I didn't have no skills. So now, yeah, I can go and do 2 hours of work and chill for the rest of the day sometimes. Because I have built the skill set, and then I'm a perfectionist and want to be great. So even my level of like discipline is my 2 or 3 hours of work is a regular person's 8 hours of work, even in the field of what I do. Because I still continue to do so much work and so many reps that the only possible outcome is the outcome that I want. And if you don't, you know, to tie it all together, the things we talked about today is at the beginning, the starting cost, like the cost to start is the highest. Like it costs you the most effort, the most time, and the output is nothing. You get nothing out of it. But you'll never get to the point where you get to put barely anything in and get all the output if you don't do it at the beginning.
Yeah.
How do you get to that point? It's like, well, you literally just moved linearly and progressionally through the phases. The first phase is all the effort and none of the output, none of the gain. You get none of the good shit. You just do an insane amount of work and have nothing to show for yourself. And if you can't make it through that, you'll never get to the point where you get to just kind of like smile and look kind of decent and maybe get a check. Like that is the cost of it. So to get to a point where you can work smart, you first have to work unreasonably hard. And then you can start to work smart. Because you know, hey, if I get an X amount of money behind me, I don't need to know the right stocks to invest in. The market shifts by X amount of percentage a day. I put 7 figures behind me. I'll just, at 9 a.m. when it drops, I'll just get out at 3 p.m. when it stops. It doesn't matter what stock, and I'll make 6 figures today. Because the leverage is how much money I put into it. Because if I have enough money, it doesn't matter what stock's doing great. I can just play the market on how big my money is behind it.
Mm-hmm.
Or you can become a guru and learn the market, whatever. But if you're looking to work smart, you're gonna have to do a lot of work first before you can get there, right? But yeah, that's a mind-blowing thing that I hate that it's gotten so much shit on like this. Like, oh, right, boomer, work hard. Like, you can't be efficient until you've done work. That's how you become efficient, doing the work. Because you know, oh, actually, step 3 is really not that important. But step 5, don't fucking miss step 5. That'll fuck your whole life up. That's because I fucking skipped step 5 before. Like, anyway, that's my rant.
I think it's not highlighted enough, man. Like, you have to understand the only leverage that you have when you're starting out is time.
Yeah.
It is effort. It's not even like the resources, the money. All you have is time.
Yeah, that's all you have to
That's
offer.
it.
Mm-hmm.
You got to use that.
Yeah.
And yeah, like you said, like if you don't understand that process, it can be discouraging because you're not seeing the fruits of your labor. But just know that when you plant a seed, the roots are growing.
Yeah.
You don't see the flower yet.
Mm-hmm.
The roots are building up.
Yeah, man.
Just keep going.
Yeah. You just got to do the work. I say you got to do the reps.
That's it.
Because if you relentlessly do the work, the only thing that can come from it, if you're intentional, is you'll learn. And then you'll learn what not to do. People like so quickly want to know what's the right answer. It's like, I'm always like, how many ways can I fuck this up? People like tell me, oh, bro, you just got it all figured out. No, I'm just an idiot. And I just kept doing it. So by process of elimination, like there's only so many wrong ways to do it. I promise you. I don't care what you're pursuing or what you want to accomplish. There's only so many ways you can do it wrong. And you'll get lucky. You'll stumble upon what the right answer is. Right? On the test. If they gave you infinite tries, you'd find the right answer.
Yeah, exactly.
Because there's only so many fucking options. But that test is that's the same thing as your life.
Yeah.
There's only so many ways you can fuck this up.
Yeah.
I don't care how creative you are. You will accidentally stumble into getting it right. That can happen.
Great way to put it, yeah.
You know, and just living in that mindset.
For sure.
Man, okay, here we go. I got a few more for you. We'll go with this since we're already here on time and reps and whatnot. Why do you think people struggle to manage their time wisely? You spoke a lot today about being distracted and letting time slip away. What do you think what's been maybe an issue for you that you can see that other people also struggle with?
Underestimating the value of time.
What do you mean by that? The reason I say this is because if I said, hey, do you want to swap spots with Warren Buffett? You would say no. So I don't think it's underestimating the value of time because he's 95. He's worth $130 billion. He has access to anyone on earth. But you have way more time left in front of you than he does in front of him. So even for $130 billion, you wouldn't swap places with him to trade the amount of life you have left. So I think that already directly correlates and shows we don't underestimate the value of time. Because no one I make that offer to is going to be like, yeah, fuck it, let's swap. No one our age is going to do it, even for $130 billion. Mm-hmm. So I think that's like, no, we do understand the value of time. There's a difference. I know if I ate right and went to the gym, I'd be jacked. Well, no, yeah, you understand the concept of it, but it's the application.
Yeah, why are you not doing it?
Yeah, how do you actually become, in practice, being mindful of your time?
My honest answer?
Yeah, I'm here for it.
It's just fucking doing it. It's just fucking doing it. That's way easier said than done, obviously. Mm-hmm. But I think, I know that we hold ourselves back. We are our worst critics, our biggest enemies. Mm-hmm. And I've noticed it's easier for some people. Some people have to go through hardship to understand that concept, that all you have to do is just to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As was mentioned to you earlier, I'm a big on understanding how things work. Mm-hmm. It's maybe my biggest detriment, but it's also what makes me good.
Yeah.
It's not that I think I'm better at anything. I'm fucking gotta get my goddamn words right. I'm better at nothing than anyone, but I'm smart enough. I'm gifted with enough intelligence and a rate of learning that you could be so far ahead of me that you'll never see me coming. But between how hard I'm willing to work and the advantages I have of high intellect and ability to learn, I'll catch you fast. So, doing all that to say, doing the work is great, but I hate when things are bundled up. If I said, hey, Jeff, stop being a dick, I haven't told you anything. There's so much is squished into dick that I haven't actually given you anything actionable to measure, though. If I said, hey, stop wasting your time. Okay. Tell me something. What do you mean? Right? Because none of that's measurable. None of that's actionable. If I said, hey, Jeff, when people come and tell you something, wait till they're done talking before you start to talk. You're like, oh, shit, okay. Hey, and if they don't ask you for your opinion, maybe don't give it unsolicitedly. Oh, shit, okay. Right now there's things that you're like, I'll wait till they're done talking to talk. I'll ask them if they want my opinion. Right? And people are like, wow, Jeff's not a dick anymore. Right? But initially, if I just said, hey, stop being a dick, I haven't told you anything. If I say, hey, just stop wasting your fucking time. You're like, oh, what, man? Like, what the fuck? Yeah, me too, thanks, yeah. How? What does that look like? What are the actionable steps to stop wasting my time? What does wasting my time look like? So I think I call it's a bundled term. Right? We run. Hey, you're lazy. Hey, you look like a mess. Put yourself together a little better. Hey, when this was the expectation for the project, you delivered this. That wasn't what I asked for. Right? So now you're like, oh, okay, like make myself look a little more presentable. Okay, great. Hey, answer the phone when they call. Okay. When they say do this, you do it. If I don't know how, well, let me ask for some fucking help. Like, because now there's actual measurability to the laziness, right? It's easier to throw maybe not the accusatory term, but like, those are just downstream effects of those things. Laziness is a downstream consequence of not doing what the standard was. That's what laziness is. But when I said, hey, you failed to meet the standard, that's a much more clear definition of what needs to change in order than to throw. I've thrown you the attribute. You're lazy. At what? So I don't like bundled terms. And I say that, but I think I'm a persistent proponent of saying do the reps. Then there's a certain level of life that you have to be able to, I call it, fit things to yourself. You have to make things fit for you, because doing the reps for me has a different terminology than maybe doing the reps for you, or doing the reps for whoever else is listening. And none of those are wrong, but you have to be able to understand them and break out that what is doing the reps actually means. It means I'm going to get up at 7 a.m. and before I get on my phone, I'm going to take some time to pray and some time to show some gratitude and appreciation for the life that I have. I don't do that every day, because the most important thing to me in doing the reps for me is practicing my faith. You can bundle that up and say, no, I'm doing the reps. Cool, but nobody else knows what you're doing. But you do, and that's fine.
Yeah.
But as an individual, you have to know what's encompassed.
Right.
What has I don't like any of these. I've blown through so many good ones that these are still good, but I'm just me. So we talked about working hard, working smart. Oh man, fucking hey, Jesus Christ! What is doing the boring work look like in your life, and why do you keep doing it? I often say that the things that win aren't sexy. People are like, when people are like, hey, bro, how do you get fit? Like, it's crazy. You eat the same boring ass fucking food, and you come to the gym and do the same fucking workouts you did before, just with a little bit more weight, and try to kill yourself a little bit harder, and you do that over a period of time, and then bam, all of a sudden you're fit. It's crazy. But like, it's because of what is wrapped up in that is the consistency over time, and like that is how we become successful at anything. But to the question is, what are the things? What's the boring work in your life look like, and what are you doing it for?
Let me think on this. This is tough, man. I haven't really actually thought about the stuff that I'm doing now as boring work.
Yeah.
I look at it as necessary work.
Yeah.
It may not be fulfilling.
Yeah.
Or fun at times.
Yeah.
But it's the work that needs to get done.
Yeah. What is some of that necessary work for you then? And what's the end goal? What is it going to serve in time?
Overcoming myself. So having daily practices of introspection with myself, having time to just sit with myself and think of where I'm at right now as far as my situation and what steps do I need to do next? Like, what do I have within my power within today that can get me to the next day, to not be in the same place tomorrow?
Yeah.
I think that's just taking the time to be with yourself, not distract yourself, not just drown yourself with work or with staying busy. Obviously you want to, you want to take as much time as you can to push yourself forward, but have that little time. Just have 5 minutes, at least 5 minutes with yourself.
Yeah.
And just think, man, just ask yourself, talk to yourself.
Not in a crazy way.
Yeah. Yeah, not in a crazy way, but definitely just don't know, man. A big thing for me is that I would say going through right now is separating the human experience and the ego from the soul.
It's a tricky one. You know what I learned recently in therapy that was a mind fuck. So I spoke on it earlier, so this is why, and you brought up ego, and that was exactly what we talked about. But earlier I mentioned that, like arrogance and that, am I doing enough? That's all actually still in the same, like that's ego. Yeah. That's just one spectrum of it to the other. And that felt like a mind fuck to me because I have this constant fear personally of like never being good enough. Right? Like nothing I ever do will be good enough. Maybe not even for anyone else, but just for me. Mm-hmm. Like this fear of like when I work hard, I feel like I could have still worked harder. Even if I can show myself undeniable proof that I did everything I could. I used the time out, I didn't waste time. I was efficient. I'd done enough hard work to know what to do the right way, but it still could have been better. When I've run marathons, I've said like, that time was okay, but it could have been better. Not like, oh, hey, like you just did this really cool thing. Like, be proud of yourself. Like, give yourself that. It's like, better, do better. And then we're talking to my therapist. It's like, that's just the farther end of the spectrum of ego. Like, it's still ego there, though. And that, like, I don't know, blew my brains out. I just couldn't rationalize and understand that. It's like, but this is about like me not being good enough for other things. It's like, oh, that's still your ego. It's like, what? How? And that's a mind fucking thing to sit with. Yeah, just like you said, they're trying to separate it from. Yeah, if you could like pull it. I don't even know. I don't have like a good analogy for it. That's where my mind has visualizations of things that I can't then describe well in the moment. But if it was like, if you could look at like your ego, like strip it off you and just like look at it, that's often what I think, like what I'm trying to do, and then find the spots where there's obvious holes, and try to fix it. Trying to define how I can be better in that way, not from a side of like fear from not being good enough or anything in that vein. Just like how can I improve the quality of the person that I am? And what drives this fear of not being enough? That's that shit digging that I said earlier. Yeah. Like every time I think I've figured it out, it's like, oh, there's more there. It's like, what is, when they say, like, where's that inner voice actually come from? Like, where do those thoughts generate? Because I don't believe they're you. Like, it's definitely something else that's present, maybe from someone else or an experience or whatnot. But like, I don't think that thing that tells you that you're not enough is actually you. It's in there, but it's not you. Yeah. And that's a whole thing to sit with and try and understand as well.
It's a great thing to touch on. I had an experience once where, man, I was, so in high school, it was really bad for me. I was doing a lot of psychedelics.
Okay.
And I had a lot of like realizations and breakthroughs, I would say.
Okay.
And I had this moment where I was able to sit back. So, do you know what DMT is?
I do. I have never done it, but I've heard some gnarly stories.
So when you smoke DMT, you're supposed to have this breakthrough. And what the breakthrough thing is called, what the breakthrough thing is you separate the ego from the body. Okay.
So it's like just spirit, essentially.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I didn't break through, but I was like, this is the breakthrough, and I was like right here. I was like right there.
Yeah. It's like if you're underwater, it's like you can like see the surface.
Yeah, and I was like, oh shit, So it freaked me the fuck out. I'm not even gonna lie to you.
I mean, it sounds gnarly.
And I had the experience of like becoming the observer. So everything that you're seeing in front of you, everything you're experiencing, you're just watching a fucking movie. You're the thing behind it.
Yeah.
I even had a even deeper mindfuck. You're the thing observing the thing that's watching this movie. What is that thing?
Yeah. You ever seen that movie Lucy?
Lucy?
Yeah.
No. I've heard of it. Oh my god, no.
You have to, bro. I'm gonna get you a damn Blu-ray player and a movie. Huh?
Give me a summary, brief.
Okay, it's that movie where she they fucking like in oh god fuck let me like get the premise of the story right. She essentially gets like she lives in some like country where she's like this boyfriend is a turd, and it's not the US, it's like Japan or something, and the Yakuza or something like kidnap her and like stuff her full of these drugs, some like super like lethal shit, and but like the bag they do it in like their stomach too, you know, so like they can take it wherever, get them a passport, fly them somewhere to sell the shit. Well, the bag busts open while she's transmitting it. And it basically unlocks the potential for her brain to like work at 100% capacity. You know, because like we essentially only use about like 10 to 15% of our cognitive power. Yeah, and so it's like her slowly becoming like more and more like, so where she becomes like omnipotent essentially, and can like telekinesis and can control shit and do whatever. And it's like, what do you see when you actually like gain full power?
Yeah.
And it's like only to 30% she could like control shit with her brain. She's like telekinetic, could like pick shit up with her mind. At like 30 or 40%. But there was a lot of like diligence done in the movie about like what were the perceived ideas of like how much more just powerful as a human being you could become by using more and more of your potential brain capacity collectively. It's a gnarly movie. 10 out of 10. I don't care who's listening. If you haven't seen the fucking movie Lucy, go see the goddamn movie Lucy. It's so fucking good. It'll leave you fucked.
I love it. Is it old?
No, and it's got Scarlett Johansson's the main character too.
What, like 20? What, like 18?
Like 20? No, like 20. Okay, it's older than that. Fuck, I forget you're a little younger than me. 4 years is a
2014.
2014.
Sweet.
Yeah,
I'll watch it.
It's
I'll check it out.
a fucking trip, dude.
I'll check it out.
Okay. But yeah, just that all I know.
No, for sure. There's one analogy. I don't know. I forget what the fucking movie's called. It's where this black guy is dating this white girl, and
It sounds like a much different movie than I thought. Okay, I'm done. I'm sorry.
She's dating this white girl, and like I guess it's like a family tradition where, fuck, dude, they like kill or they make the like the boyfriend a slave or something.
What the?
And like he ended up finding out, and he found a scrapbook of all the old boyfriends, where they would take pictures with the family. I don't know what the fucking movie is called, but I guess he ran away or something. And
It sounds like Georgia, 1744.
dude, what the fuck?
Oh no, you said that white girl. Never mind.
I forget what movie this is.
That's wild.
I'll find it.
Okay.
It's crazy.
Yeah,
but there's this part in the scene where he, I forget if he takes something or I think he was drinking tea. He was drinking tea. The mom served him tea, and he took a sip of it, and like he like got out of his body, and that's what it feels like. That's like when I had that breakthrough, like I mentioned to you. Mm-hmm. You're the observer.
We have gone on a hell of a ride here.
You're watching a movie, and it like that describes it perfectly.
Yeah,
like it's so crazy. Like
the tea thing.
Yeah, the tea thing.
Fuck. We were on a. If you're listening to this still, I'm sorry, because fuck, we took you on a road there. Jesus Christ. Fuck you.
I'll find it. It's a really good scene. I don't know what the fuck it's called.
Anyway, okay, we're gonna go back to a real question now. Tripping on DMT to maybe a slightly mild racist shit. Yeah. But here we are. We've made it all full circle. Have you ever ignored your gut and paid the price for it?
Fuck yeah. Absolutely.
What does that look like for you? And what were some of the consequences that came from it?
I go with my gut because a part of me wants, like, the gut knows. I don't know why or how the gut fucking knows. It just knows. But a part of me wanted to like go against it.
I call it like your mind versus your gut.
Absolutely.
Your gut's like, no. Your mind's like, well, but like let's look at it.
It's exactly what it was. And so my mind was trying to like, just maybe, like you don't know yet. Mm-hmm. But the gut just like a deep feeling.
It knows.
Like,
man.
Yeah, don't fucking do that.
Yeah.
Did it anyways. And Yeah, man, it fucked me up for sure.
You want to give a little bit more on that?
I
feel like we're hanging on our seat.
Yeah. So it was actually a relationship I was in.
Oh wow, I know that's where I was going.
Yeah, it was a relationship I got in. It was horrible. I don't know what the fuck I was thinking, dog.
So so it's kind of for those people listening.
Yeah.
What was the gut? The gut was don't get in this relationship, or
yeah, don't.
Okay.
Like you have all the signs telling you that you shouldn't do this. Yeah, just a part of me wants to wants to hold on to hope.
Yeah.
That things could be different.
I would like to try and find. I would challenge you to say, why is that there? What in you maybe needs that attention to think that this potential thing, person, idea, belief is worth that hope? When you can clearly feel, that discernment within. What do you think creates that?
I always relate it back to myself.
Sure.
Because, man, it's been quite a ride for me personally.
Yeah.
No one's perfect. No one's perfect. Everyone has baggage and shit they have to fix and work on. And I always hold that to the front. Always.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, I can't judge this person.
Sure.
For who they've been or like their experiences that have shaped them to where they are now. Just look at me.
Yeah. I think it's like a good like benchmark rule I've found. It's a really safe way to judge that. I've done some very horrific things in my life. I've treated people not the best way, and I've hurt people that I shouldn't have for selfish reasons or an inability to make right with things inside of me. But I think most recent history is the most prolific indicator, right? So if you're like, oh, I like this guy or girl, and they told me they used to do all this really crazy stuff, and well, there's an admiration for that because they're willing to be vulnerable with you. But how recent is that wild shit? If it's 3 weeks ago, maybe it's they're not really over it. The difference in because here's my argument that men will probably try and shit on me for, but if a girl's fucked a lot of dudes, but in the last 3 years she's fucked one guy that she's been in a relationship with and then hasn't slept with anybody else since, it's that behavior really entices that obviously something changed. Right? So I would judge that behavior more than, oh, well, she fucked a lot of dudes before. It's well, but in the last 3 years, she was with the one guy she's dated for 2 years and then she hasn't slept with anybody since. So there's the most recent behavior is more telling than the historic behavior. Right? If you used to do drugs, but you've been sober for 3 years, well, who gives a fuck what you used to do? I know you probably got some character then, and you got some stuff you've been through. But if you told me you did drugs 3 days ago, I'd be like, I don't know, big dogs. We may have to re-follow up on this friendship, or how engaged it's going to be.
Yeah.
Right, and so I think that should be the measure that you use. It's what does the recent history show? I think that's a safe indicator because there's a reason. This is a big one for me too, and I guess relationship is an easy one to do it with. But I've done some things in my professional career too that I've been this is probably wrong. And I do it and yep, that was fucking stupid. But obviously, the easy one for anyone to tie to is relationships. So you always you just know. I truly believe, like you said, you just feel it. You're And then 3 years later, in a heartbreak, you're damn, if only on my second date when I felt fucking really weird about it, I would have just left her alone. Or left him alone, right? Yeah. For the women out there, man, my life would be so much better now. Why the fuck do you think that is? But then I'll tie it all back for you. You have to fuck it up. You have to get it wrong enough times so that you can know, oh shit, my gut's telling me this. That's what that feels like. Oh, that's this thing. I need to listen to that. Because when you're 20, you don't have any fucking experience. You don't know what your gut instinct is. I'm 21, man. I listen to my gut. You don't fucking know what your gut is. You haven't done anything. You haven't been through anything. You haven't had enough repetitions to know that's my gut or that's my insecurities, my trauma, my shit.
Yeah.
And you get to, I'll be 30 soon, and there's times where I'm still like, I think that's that.
Mm-hmm.
And there's some areas where I'm like, no, I know that that's that shit right there. But then there's other avenues where I'm like, I'm not as sure because I don't have the same rep count there.
You hit it. You hit it on the yes. Yeah.
And so that's the idea of like working smart versus hard. Like, well, you can work smart once you've worked hard.
Yeah.
Once you have enough experience in a thing, then you can know.
Absolutely. And I think that's a great example. That's a great way to put it. Because people can tell me, they can give me advice and give me their input on things. And like, I'll take it.
Yeah.
I'm not like, the fuck are you talking about? Like, no, like, I'll take it. But I have to go through it.
Yeah.
Like, I have to fucking experience this shit myself. Even if it's like
painful
and it sucks. Or even if at the end they're like, I told you so.
You're like, hey, yeah,
you did tell me, but I had to experience it myself.
But now I know.
Now I know.
Yeah.
Now I know.
It's like a phrase I've said in too many episodes of this podcast. People hate it probably, but fuck them. No, just kidding. I love you so much. Please listen more. I make no money from listening, so if you don't listen, I'll be okay. How do we learn anything? You learn by doing. If you really wanted to, like, how you learn how to lift weights? Well, you get in the fucking gym and you lift some fucking weights. How do I learn to run? Well, guess what? Fucking put on your damn tennis shoes, get your heavy breathing ass out there and run around a bit. You'll figure it out. I promise you. You can only run long so many ways. If my hefty ass can fucking move that fast, you could do it. But again, we have to do it. Like, there is a component of learning that is doing. So when I'm like bounce this little thing on, let me see. Okay, I got 3. Okay, so I'll bounce this little theory off you, and then we'll take it home here.
Yeah.
So there's a phrase that says, it's not. When speaking in context of living the life that's meant for you, that people think like the worst thing is living the wrong life. And I don't think so, because wrong screams at you. When you're doing crack and fucking whores, like, it's pretty obvious you need to change your life. There's no, even, like, maybe you ignore it, but I should get clean. I should stop fucking whores, right? It's screaming at you in every possible avenue, through your nervous system, to your senses, to, like, your happiness, your fulfillment. Like, it's wrong. The argument that the worst life to live is a good life that's not for you. It's like, maybe you're really successful at this job you do, but you're not fulfilled in it. That's not what makes you happy. And it pays the bills, it is okay. But, like, you really have this, like, thing inside you that says, I really want to do this. So you're living a good life. But what if you could live an even better one doing the thing that you're meant to do, that you're supposed to do? The thing that the world would do better if you did. And that's tough. I mean, that's not an easy commitment to make or to even know, but I've seen, like, this guy. Whoever listens to this episode, man, they're going to bounce around a bit, but I've heard Steve Harvey even say it. He's like, like, if you feel like, we spoke earlier, he said, I just felt like I was meant for more. He's like, you have this feeling. Why do you think you have this feeling that you're supposed to do that thing? You asked me why I did this podcast. I was like, because something in me was like, you can kind of speak well enough. And you continue to experience things at a rate in life that you've talked to enough people already in your life that you realize a lot of people haven't experienced this yet. Or you're able to give a perspective or talk in a way that they're like, oh shit, like, hey, like, I was able to take something from that. What if you could give that to more people? It was like one of those gut things. Like, I never was like, man, one day I want to be a podcaster. Never. It never was like, it just was one day I was like, what if I did a podcast? Like, could I even do it? Could I do that? Fuck, I don't know. So I asked a few people I trusted, and then, like, from, okay, it's a good idea, to we filmed episode 1 was like less than 60 days. Boom. It's like, all right, cool. What kind of equipment do you need? What's good equipment? What's bad equipment? How do you even film a podcast? How do you even edit a podcast? Like, it was just every bit of it. But if I hadn't been willing to listen to that, like, gut calling of, like, hey, go do this thing, like, I ain't made a fucking penny on this shit. I spent $25,000. I ain't made a dime yet. But like you asked me earlier, like, well, what's the end goal? He's like, I've said from the beginning that I just wanted to have good conversations with people I cared about. If it flops, I've done one of these with my son. I've done one with some really good friends that I don't get to see very often. And it's this thing that just gets to stick around for however long the internet's a thing. And that's pretty cool. But if I wasn't willing to like listen to that and take the leap per se, who knows what kind of like cost I would have accrued from just staying in the same spot. So I don't know what this will be. Maybe it'll be something crazy. Maybe it's nothing. But I'll never know unless I try.
Absolutely.
So it's like living a good life that maybe it wasn't the one that's meant for you. It's like that's the worst cost. It's like the cost of when they say, you know, you become an old man and you wonder how good you could have been. It's like that's the worst cost to pay. The cost of regret.
Yeah. I think that's where I'm at trying to navigate what fulfills me as far as what I do.
Yeah.
Like, bro, I've been making music since I was 16.
Mm-hmm.
I sucked ass at first, obviously.
Like everyone has to be.
Like everyone does.
Like you think you're just gonna start and like just drop a banger, top being on the Billboard? Like no, bro, it's gonna be shit.
Yeah, it was really bad. But like over the past, honestly, man, like over the past year, like literally just last year, is when everything started to like. And like my sound is getting good.
Yeah.
I'm not making shit off of it. I'm not getting exposure off of it. Yeah. But it brings me fulfillment. It brings me so much pleasure and joy knowing that I made this from absolutely nothing.
Yeah. And it's like the first time I did a podcast, I mean, I maybe it wasn't shit, but like definitely wasn't near as good as like the last one or this one. Right? Because again, like how do you get better at anything? Like you have to suck.
Bro, yeah.
Like the bar has to be so low at the beginning, and most people don't want to do that. Like I'm too good for that. Like how the fuck would you think? I've even had this conversation with my son. He's like, "I want to be in the MLB." I'm like, "Yeah, dude. Remember how fucking when you couldn't hit the ball off the tee? Like, you remember that? I do. You fucking sucked, right? But like that, like that is, it has to start there. Mm-hmm. If you don't look back at previous work and like hate yourself, then you haven't gotten any better.
Yeah.
Even if maybe it wasn't horrible, but like it should look worse because you should have gotten better. Some of these first edits I did on some of the shows, like, fuck that. Why did I even? Oh, I gotta kill myself. Right? But like, I should feel that way. Yeah. And 6 months from now, I should feel that way about the shit I do today.
Yeah.
Because it's like, oh shit, I've gotten better. Like that is how you know. Because if you looked at it like, no, that was hard. Brother, it was not. But no, I think that's if you just were great at it, like if you knew you were gonna win, why would it be fun anyway?
It's the process, man.
Yeah. If I knew this podcast was gonna hit, why even start it? If I knew before I ever picked up a fucking weight in the gym I was gonna be Mr. Olympia, why even? What is the incentive to pursue? We don't really get a whole lot out of like achieving. We do it by pursuing.
There's this this post. Fuck. If I can find it, can I find it for you?
Yeah, go ahead, bro.
You know Alex Hormozy?
Yes.
Okay.
Do I know Alex? Yeah. You know, bro, we're gonna be best friends now. That is like I live by that man.
Yeah.
I can quote almost anything by him.
Yeah.
Like almost. This is where a segue.
So his wife, they made a collab post.
Layla.
I
love Layla. Yeah,
bro, they're so goated. Oh my goodness.
What you got on this one?
She posted. She was like, "Happiness is found in trying to achieve a goal, not in achieving it."
Yeah, it's like especially as men. I think that's huge. There is that. No matter how much you have, why is there a desire to want more? Because it's in there's a pursuit for something. It always feels good to get, even if you have, right? Because you have to do work to get. You know, I like the thing earlier. You got $10 million. What would make you happy? Shit, 30 to 50 would do it. Not because of just the having, because of the pursuit of getting. you know, and it's, man, oh God, you got on my dick really hard about Alex, man. That's my dude. I literally, like, at least, but I don't think I've done it this episode, so I'm going to fix that, but every episode I quote something from him. I mean, the even the doing the reps mindset is like a very from him thing. You know, I mean, a lot of the way I speak and approach life is a segment of the way he kind of lives his life, and I've never felt more like real to another person, even though I've never actually physically met him in person. But I'm like, oh, like someone out there thinks like that. It's not just me. I'm not fucked. So when he talks about like, he says, I don't think I could ever love someone the way I love my goals. And I'm like, I'm going to show you something, because this is my gift. It's a really shitty gift, but it's a gift. This is the one that I watched that way more times than I'd like to admit. I'm going to have to do like a reel to this, a little collab thing, because it's goated. But if you don't get chills when you watch it, you're missing the fuck out. Because that shit still gives me the chills when I watch it today. Good life is a hard life. And you are measured by what you are at the end, not what it takes to make you. Because all like that, if I'll speak on my faith there, if you look at like what it takes to, like, God isn't biased. I segue that with I'll start with, I do believe that God intentionally created evil because the world is better because it's present. The only reason you appreciate good, kindness, and love is because you know what evil, hatefulness, and malice look like. If it was all just really great, then it wouldn't be great. It would just be normal, right? And God doesn't have like the hyper focus to like zoom enough in you to go like, oh, that girl's gonna shit on him, right? It's just hardship required equals better output if he overcomes the hardship. And then you insert free will and some choices, and there's infinite potential ways that could have occurred, but because of choices that were made, that's the way it happened. So even if you're like, oh, you're battling with your faith because like God gave you some hard shit, it's like that's just a subsequent result of so many very finite choices that occurred over the period of existence to then get to that moment. But like that's not that it wasn't tailored to just like be this really shitty, horrible thing for you in that moment. It's just like to become great requires hardship. And whatever that hardship looked like, whether it was sleeping in your car, your spouse fucking ruining your heart, like whatever it was, like if you can overcome that, battling drugs, getting clean, like whatever, like if you overcome that, no one's worse on the other side of it. That's not coincidence. So I was like, oh, God doesn't care about me. He put me in this really hard position. It's like, well, he didn't zoom in that closely. When he made you, he said you have the potential to be great. But to create greatness requires struggle, hardship, going through things that you don't want to go through, and becoming the kind of person who can battle that and make it out on the other side. And that doesn't mean you're going to come out unscathed. Like there's going to be scars, and there's going to be, maybe you're going to walk with a limp, maybe you're going to have a fake leg, like whatever that is, but you'll be better when you come out of it. And again, I don't think that's happenstance. I think there's these like fundamental truths of our life that, like, why is the most fulfilling thing the things we do for others, not ourselves? And why have people been talking about that for thousands of years, over and over and over again? Because it's real, because that's the truth. So, I don't know, I just, yeah. That's it for me on that.
You ordered that very well.
Thank you.
Very well.
Sometimes I just have to let it. It's like I said earlier, it's like the things I don't really think about too much. I just let whoever that feeling is speak for me. Seems to do a pretty good job.
That was great.
All right. Well, I'm going to hit you with a deep one here.
Hit me.
How do you define enough? What does enough look like?
Doing enough? Being enough?
Any of it. What do those things look like? That's something recently I just started trying to really put some tangibility to.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not a fun time.
Yeah.
I don't enjoy it.
Yeah.
I started asking myself, how much money is enough money to me? I don't have an answer still. Even though I have currently no immediate financial stress in my life or worries for me or the people I care about, I still don't feel like it's enough. So then let's go, well, what is enough? Play the devil advocate for my own self. What's enough money then? What's enough happiness? What's enough gains in the gym? What's enough fulfillment? What's enough love? But if I say all those examples for anyone correlating that maybe they don't think they have enough of something in their life. What's enough for you? How do you become enough for yourself? What does that look like? If at the end of the day you go, I didn't work hard enough today. Well, what could have been enough then? Did you actually just piss time away and then not use your time wisely? Or are you just saying that because you've said that to yourself for the last 10,000 days? Because if I said, hey, there's not enough food in the house to eat, that's something measurable. Well, I need more food then.
Mm-hmm.
There's only 6 ounces of chicken, I needed 8. I needed 2 more ounces. So, okay. So if I'm not enough, what does enough look like? Where's the discrepancy in me that I feel needs to be fixed? It's a funny one.
That's a deep one, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't.
I'll give you this to make it easy because it is a tough one to initially start to run through. The simplest way I found to actually make headway in this topic was if I asked you, I said, hey, what's a good friend? You'd be like, like somebody who's there for you, right? Like it would come out with something that like doesn't really feel like it shouldn't be said. Not that it shouldn't be said, but like it feels a little like uncomfortable, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of, and then you're like, yeah, but like what does that really look like? And then you kind of dance around it for a few minutes, but then you start going, well, like someone who I know could be there if I really called them and I was having an issue, whether that be like I needed $20 or I was like having a panic attack and I just needed someone to be there for me, right? But it forces you to like I think we have a semblance of the idea.
Mm-hmm.
The preface I can give to this is like, if you can't paint, you know what a good painting looks like. So I think we do know inside of us. It's just like vocalizing it requires us to have to admit it. And that's where the hardship exists.
I think every answer I can think about is just something that is measured in a physical sense.
Sure.
But even then, that shouldn't be the final answer.
Mm.
It should be something more internal.
I mean, I think if you can start to paint the picture for something external, then you can start to then use it as an example for something to view internally.
So like, for example, a friend or a partner, right? You can name qualities.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I want my friend to be accepting and encouraging and someone that's willing to go through and rely on things with each other. Like those are just physical examples.
Yeah.
I think the deeper answer would be
when you internally, as you said, you do that introspection of yourself, what does a version of Jeff that's enough look like to you? If you could finally stop moving the goalposts of what would be enough, where would you finally arrive?
celebrating where I'm currently at instead of pushing myself down for it.
Mm-hmm.
Just having gratitude for where I'm currently at. And I feel like that's something that I'm working on.
Yeah.
But even that is much easier said than done.
Oh yeah.
We take that for granted. Like,
yeah. Sorry. That is one that it is easy Tony Robbins says, none of us experience the life. We experience the life we focus on. So at any given moment, what's wrong is always available, but so is what's right. Because what do you think you focus on more? What do you have, and what you have, or what's missing? What's missing? It's easier. All right. Oh man, I made 6 sales today. Could have made 10. So quick. It's so easy to just immediately strip it. Hit the 90s today. Could have hit the 100 zone. It's so easy to immediately come into, not even a deprecating way, but just I wouldn't even call it comparison, but just not to focus on what you had, what you've done, what you're doing right now. Because there won't be the subsequent things that follow if you can't do it right now. So it's if you remove the credit, I think if you want to ensure you feel nothing when you achieve something, it's you don't give yourself credit along the way. If you don't pat yourself on the back, and maybe not excessively, but at least give yourself the acknowledgement for the work that you're doing now. You could go win a marathon. You could go be Mr. Olympia. You could make all the money. And then the irony will be you will still feel nothing. Because the whole time you've blocked yourself off from feeling something. You've set that we only acknowledge goals that are at this level. It's well, guess what? The only way you get to that peak of the mountain is by step, 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 bam. Then you're there. But if you don't ever acknowledge any of the steps along the way, you're I don't feel anything. I've done the thing. I won. I made this. I achieved the goal, but why do I feel nothing? Because you've kept yourself from feeling anything the whole time. So why now do you think all of a sudden you're gonna break the threshold and feel all the feelings for it? So it is actively challenging to be grateful and practice gratitude. And more than anything, just acknowledge the work you're doing right now. Because if you ever want to get to the point of where the big one happens, you're going to have to give yourself credit for what you do now. Or the big one will leave you feeling just as empty. And then you're in the unfortunate tragedy of you have champagne problems. Now you've got all the money, you've got all the success, and now you're crying about it. Now who's going to take you serious?
Yeah.
It's a bit of a mind fuck.
Yeah. Celebrating the small wins.
You have to. Small wins lead to the big wins.
And man, one thing that's helped me, dude, just take it by the day. Stop looking for next month, next week, next year. That'll come.
It'll be there.
It'll accumulate. But what are you doing with the 24 hours that you have?
Mm-hmm.
Celebrate those wins.
I'm going to give you one more mind fuck to leave with today. Are you I know my brain is dead. Are you familiar with winners games versus losers games? Have you heard of this?
I've not heard
of this. Well, let me bless you with it. It's originally driven from tennis. And it says most games in life are losers games, meaning you win by avoiding the fuck ups. You don't have to be good, just don't fuck up, right? It's it's by you just don't make unforced errors. It's you don't fuck yourself up. I call it getting the easy shit right. If you get the easy shit right, so you're how do I win? Well, I have to do this crazy thing. It's actually, just get the easy shit right. If you get the easy shit right, that's most of life. Most of life's challenges are losers games. If you just don't marry a stripper and ruin your credit every time you can and whatever, just don't avoid those things. Just avoid that. Avoid those. Don't get the wrong girl pregnant. Don't do you avoid a handful of things in life, life's really easy to win at, right? So that's the loser's game mentality. In tennis again, it's hey, you're just playing it's a fundamental basketball, right? Mm-hmm. You're oh, he's so skilled. It's no, he just doesn't fucking do some weird shit. He's not trying to do the most, right? And then there's winners games. Now, winners games is a bit different because a winners game is where there's just someone who's got so much skills and so great at something that if you try to play a loser's game with someone who's playing a winner's game, you're oh, I'm gonna let them fuck up they're not gonna fuck up. because they're at such a level that they're just going to execute like things that are you can't compete against. So it's pivotal to just know what game you're playing. And again, most of life is, like I said, a loser's game. If you just avoid the fuck ups, get the easy shit right. Like, here's a very simple example for the easy shit right. You have a project at work, right? And you spend all night working on it. And it's fucking good. Like, you're going to get promoted. You should be the man after this. But you show up 10 minutes late to the fucking meeting. No one gives a fuck about your project now. Because you fucked up the easy thing. You didn't show up on time. Now, dickhead Tommy, whose project looks like he pulled it out of his ass, but he was there on time. No one cares how hard you worked. Don't fuck up the easy stuff. Show up on time. All right? In the gym, obviously, like a lot of people, I talk a lot about the gym here, so it's an easy one, but like, just going, like, getting the food in, getting to the gym, like, you want to get in gear, you don't want to get in gear or whatever, but like, don't fuck up the easy stuff. Like, eat the right food, train the right way. You get those things right, like, that's the easy shit. Don't fuck that up. You know, like, in a relationship, like, just be honest, don't fucking lie. That sounds easy. Like, don't fuck that up and you can have a pretty good relationship. Right? So most of our life, if we can just avoid the fuck ups, being repetitive on purpose, because so many people fuck up the easy shit. And they put all their effort into the hard things. It's like, yeah, but no one ever cares to look at the hard things you've done if you can't get the easy shit right. The other, like the ha-ha one that a lot less people will enjoy, but I know you'll enjoy it because we have a dark sense of humor. It's like, it's great to eat the right food and go to the gym and train every day, but if you don't put your fucking seatbelt on when you drive your car, fucking up the easy stuff. No one cares if you're jacked if you're through the fucking windshield. What was it for? Don't fuck up the easy stuff. The real complexity is learning when the game changes. From when knowing and being able to identify when you're going from playing a loser's game, which is, hey, don't fuck up the easy stuff, to now I'm playing a winner's game. And I need to be very precise about what I'm doing. I need to execute perfectly. If you try and use a loser's game strategy against a winner's game, you're going to get fucked. And I know it's just a concept that I just recently am becoming privy to myself, but I have often given people the advice of, like, how do I win? I go, why don't you start thinking of how can I stop losing? Which is the same approach. I just didn't know there was a term for it. It was like, instead of focusing on what could I do right, what are you doing wrong? Let's just stop doing that. If we just stop doing the things we're doing wrong, by definition, we are moving towards the things we should do right. Because what's killing most people isn't the fact that they don't go to the gym. There's a lot of fat, strong motherfuckers at the gym. They can't stop fucking shoveling food in their mouth. It's not about how can I get strong. I need to get more weight. I need to get more. It's my cardio. It's like, no, it's your inability to not be a baby. From Alex Ramosi saying this. It's like, you can't control what you put in your fucking mouth. That's the problem. So let's just focus. Let's not focus on what you need to get to get better at or improve. Focus on what you're doing poorly. Because we always also come to the thing where we're the weakest at. Right. So it's like if you're a 9 at training, but a 3 at discipline with food, it's a lot. You could get a lot more value out of becoming a 5 or a 6 at discipline with eating than trying to go from a 9 to a 10 in training effort. It's like it's not any success I've found in life has never been from intentionally trying to get better at a thing. It's just, how can I rid myself of the pitfalls and the shortcomings, fucking up the easy stuff, optimizing to where I'm bad at. If I know I'm bad at these things, let me try to avoid those. If I know, damn, if I come home, I'm going to sit on the couch and I'm not going to go to the gym, I need to take my clothes with me. That's not me being good at going to the gym. That's me working against what I know I'm bad at. And so many people are like, what's the secret? What's the cheat code? What's the whatever? Well, first of all, there is none. It's really fucking lame. But 2, you just learn to work against what you're bad at. And you can find an innate level of success.
What do you feel is, how do you find when it switches from one game to the other? What signs do you look for? Or what switches in for you personally?
This one's good. I think it's a rep thing. If I immediately, I think it's safe to have the default on for loser's game, right? Because that's what most of what you're going to encounter in life. But if you do that and you've been winning at life in other areas, and you see you're starting to get your dick pushed in, maybe it's like, oh, this isn't a loser's game. Maybe you need to like try and back up, like, hey, time out. Let me give some space, breathe some space into it, so I can start to then. An example here would be, look at this. This is what I said. This question set gave me some life. When you're young and all you have is time, saying yes to a lot of things is good because you get a lot of experience. Now, as you get experience and you start to become skilled, saying yes to everything is no longer good. You need to get more specific. So you need to give yourself that space, breathe that kind of life into yourself, or create some space for the ability to start to go, no, I'm going to say yes to only certain things because they're going to have bigger sized returns and require more effort from me. But if I just keep saying yes to the minimal little easy things, I'm never going to get the big thing. I'd say just something Alex says too here, because now you're going to put me on a roll. It's like just the value in being directionally correct. Right. I don't need to be like, so many people want to be degree correct. Like I'm here, 33, 148, 27. Is it north or south? So it's like, how would I know it's become a winner's game? It's like, well, if I was going north and I'm getting fucked, let's just realize that maybe this is not the right direction anymore. And once I get directionally correct, then we can hone in on the specifics. And so I'd say, just again, with like anything, you're going to take a loser's game approach to a winner's game, and you're going to get your shit kicked in. That's the cost to learn that you're not playing a loser's game. That'll happen a few times, and you'll be like, oh shit, time to switch it up. Like, no person who's hit it big on anything they've done hit it big on their first attempt at it. Like, by the time any musician has a hit song, there's hundreds of songs they never want anyone to hear. Ever. Please never hear it. Because I will kill myself if you ever play it out loud in a public place. Okay? It's the phrase that's been said similarly by Alex, but by a lot of other people. Is, things happen none at all and then all at once. Everybody focuses on the all at once. That period of none at all is longer and harder than you think. And if you can just continue to do the work for whatever period of time that is, whether you're being cheered for or not, whether you're seeing the results or not, and you just continue to do and do and do for so long that the only potential outcome is that you can win. I've said this before. I need to stop saying that. I just need to just say shit again. Something I took from Alex that really altered my view on a lot of life was the idea of infinite games versus finite games. And I'll give you the context of an infinite game. An infinite game is you keep playing. And you can't beat someone who's playing an infinite game. Right? The context. We didn't win the Vietnam War because they were playing an infinite game. We were playing a finite game. We wanted to win the war. They just wanted to keep fighting. You couldn't beat that. They just want to keep fighting. There is no win. And a lot of things in life are infinite games. For example, no one cares if you were in business. It's, do you still have a business? Were you married? Are you still married? You were in shape? No, I still am in shape. The idea of an infinite game is to keep playing. And if you can take that perspective to whatever you're pursuing, you can realize that if you can just keep playing, you don't have to be good. You just have to be willing to keep doing it. And the longer you keep doing it, the more people will fall out or drop out, and there'll be less competition. And then enough time will go by, and you'll be the only one left, so you'll win. But it requires you to. But you didn't win because you wanted to win. You won because you just kept playing the game. So many people treat success or whatever like it's a final game. I want to win. That's it. That's not how you're ever going to win. You're going to win by continuing to play. And then this last one is, I'll ask the question, and then if I hope you'll be able to understand it, but if not, we'll go from there. Have your expectations ever been your greatest liability?
Elaborate.
Yeah. Okay. So the concept to this is that if this is also on the enough topic is what will cause that lack of enough to feel present if your expectations grow faster than your resources. For example, so if I'm benching 225, but I feel like I should be benching 275, I'll never celebrate the 225 or the 235 or the 245 or the 255. See, I immediately rob myself of everything. I'll never celebrate the $30,000 bonus if I feel like my expectations are I should have 100. Have you encountered any of that in your own life where your expectation of where you should be has limited or robbed you of something?
I can't say I have.
You can't?
No.
Okay. Then you're blessed.
I can't say I have. I think I'll have to reflect on that question and dig deeper.
Yeah.
And
I look forward to it.
Absolutely.
I have too many times in my life. I'd say I can't think of many times I haven't actually ruined things for myself based on an expectation that my expectations were further along than where I was currently achieving. And I think you could build an inverse argument for, hey, maybe that's of value because maybe there's a reason that you think that you're not doing enough, or achieving enough, or why you say, oh, I should be at 275. It's like, well, is it because you actually should and you were bullshitting for a while and you weren't? So if you're optimizing for, if I'd been on my shit from the rip, I could already be there. Well, but you weren't, so you're not. So it's, even though maybe you can validate the expectation, but the inputs don't lead to that result, or that's what it would be. If I had been on my shit, if I hadn't fucked off some of my time, well, but you did, so you can't say, if what? And yeah, I have plagued so many things in my life where I've denied myself the ability to feel or enjoy or be present with things because I've thought that, yeah, a 3-hour marathon's pretty cool. Or a sub 4-hour marathon's pretty cool. But I should have done a 3:30. And then I got to that and it was like, yeah, but it should have been 3. And I should have, when I get the salary, I'll be happy. And again, I was like, it should have been more though. So
I'm going to think about this tonight, actually. It's a great question.
It's a tough one. If you could share any insight, perspective, or something with those who would be listening, what would you want to share with them? Okay, nothing?
There's too much that I don't even know what to say.
If there was a gun to your head, what would you say?
I think that's a really good.
Yeah, what you already immediately you're like, I got them now, right? That's scary to people, but I think, like I said, the truth lives in the extremes.
Got a gun to my head. What would I say?
Give a good piece of advice, or you don't make it, or some even good relative, but like something that impacts you, something genuine.
Yeah.
If you wanted to share something with someone,
And I think it's important to keep reminding yourself that this experience that we're having and the people you meet, the places you go, and the hardships, the successes that you have in life, like everything good and bad should be celebrated, because for me personally, like I know that this isn't it. Like this isn't everything. And we are so caught up in like a day-to-day focus on what we should be doing or where we should be. Mm-hmm. And it comes back to the thing of like having gratitude for where we're at. Just be still.
yeah,
Be still. Appreciate where you're at. Even if you're going through hell.
it's all temporary. The things you enjoy and love the most are temporary, and the thing that you hate or wish would go away is also temporary. It'll come back again, the good and the bad. Don't go looking for the bad. It'll come back. Enjoy the good. Be present with it. And take the time to be intentional and reflect when it is good. Enjoy it. Because it won't always be that way.
Exactly.
And when it's bad, just be able to hold on. It won't always be that way. Mine is a little combination of kind of all of that, but I'm trying to be more on this Western or this Eastern culture idea of less is more. And it's by Marcus Aurelius. And the obstacle is the way. It's not a lot, but there's a lot there.
No, that says a lot.
So it's the condensed way to say a lot of things I said earlier today. So, oh, big dog. I've enjoyed it.
Thanks, man.
You got to watch the movie Lucy, though.
I'm gonna watch it.
Fucking hell, you got to. You got to. And whatever deranged movie you were telling me about. Oh,
that's what
Out.
it is. Yeah.
That was the worst summary for Get Out ever. We're gonna play this back. That's gonna be a clip up of just the like meandering you did. So it's like that was Get Out, and like how many people would have guessed that was Get Out? I definitely thought we were referencing some like plantation style movie for a while there.
Oh my god!
I thought it was Get Out at one point when you were like, yeah, black guy, white girl. I was like,
yeah.
And the family thing, and I was like, wait, I think I've heard jokes about this. I have not seen it, but
Was that right? Like of what I was describing?
Yeah, it was just it was a hell of a way. It was a hell of a way to tell the story. Anyway, that's why it's beauty's in the eyes of the beholder, right? As long as you get there, that's all that matters. But you can get to Walmart 100 ways. We could go to Dallas and back. As long as we got to Walmart, we went, and that's right around the corner. You could say we got to the right place. How long it took us to get there?
Yeah,
I don't know. But, to anyone still listening, this beautiful, well-curated episode of Matrix Dialogues. Thank you so much for checking it out, and I hope you enjoy it. Everyone, Jeff Cruz, thank you so much.
Thank you guys.